Hello, my name is Matthew, and I just read The Adventure of the Speckled Band by Sir Conan Arthur Doyle, Sherlock Holmes short story. And I'm reading all of the Sherlock Holmes short stories as a part of my read along and book club with Steve Donahue. So we're reading murder mysteries in mammoth quantities. And this one is full of animals. The last short story that I read was The Adventure of the Blue Barnacle, which is as close to a wild goose chase of a story you could read. This one has animals too. It features a cheetah, a baboon, and a black adder, a snake. And thankfully, the baboon didn't do it. But this short story has really mysterious qualities. The the murder mystery, the tale when the frightened woman arrives at the apartment and starts telling her story, it has horror elements and eeriness, creepiness to it. And we're back in the apartment at Baker Street, and Sherlock is there, and Watson, and a very early hour. We just had a short story where someone arrives at Watson's house at a very late hour. This time, it's alarmingly early, and she comes in. Sherlock dresses her down with his usual ability to make observations and deduce that she was on a dog cart on the left hand side of the cart, and she's coming from this place. And of course, it's all very obvious because there's speckles of mud on your dress, and only dog carts create that speckled mud pattern, and it would have to happen on the left hand side. Always entertaining. Those little examples that are throughout are ingenious in Sherlock's quality, Watson's perception, and describing the story, describing characters in a hugely minute, detailed way, and keeping it fascinating and fun. And so she starts going on telling her story. She lives out of town, and it's her and her sister, and they're living at their stepfather's house. It's an old family. They had money. The two sisters are willed or have a certain kind of fortune that they're going to get, and if if they get married, if one of them gets married or each one gets married, they get a certain portion of the fortune in advance. And all these characters, everyone has fortunes. And the sister of the person that's telling the story to Sherlock, she comes to her sister and says, late at night, do you hear a whistling, a metallic? Do you hear a whistling sound? Very late at night, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and his sister says no. He says, well, our bedrooms are very close together. I know you're not as light of a sleeper as I am. And she says, no, I don't hear a whistling sound, and it's freaking this girl out. And then one night, there's a shriek in her bedroom, and the sister that's telling the story runs down the hall, sees the door ajar, and her dying words from the girl that is screaming and hearing the whistling sound. This night, her dying words are the speckled band, and then she just dies. This event happened 2 years before the the girl came to see Sherlock and Watson. So it's a very complex timeline, at least while I'm trying to describe it. 2 years have gone by, and one night or during the day, she has to move for some reason from her bedroom to the bedroom of her sister that died. And she gets put in that bedroom and hears the whistling sound. What makes all of this so much more threatening to both the girls and then to the one girl is the domineering, abusive, mean spirited, gigantic stepfather who has a cheetah and a baboon roaming the property and creating havoc and terror throughout the surrounding town. And he's very much characterized as a brutish villain. So there's a night 2 years after this, after the murder, where the girl hears this whistling sound and in such alarm just hopped on that dog cart and traveled to Baker Street to see if Sherlock can help. It's also worth noting that in these stories, uh, Sherlock is a bit of a celebrity in this world, from kings and queens and princes to heads of state, celebrities, various aristocrats, all the way down to common people that just read the paper. And Sherlock is always interested. He's always interested in a case that's intriguing, and he's willing to help. So she tells this story, and of course Sherlock is asking pointed questions throughout all of this. They agree there is something afoot, and Watson is there, and Sherlock says time is of the essence, and says to the girl, we're going to go to this village, we're going to go to your house and investigate. And the girl leaves straight away, and Sherlock and Watson are going to take a train in the early afternoon and be there. And the girl leaves, and no sooner does she leave does the door fling open, and there's a gigantic hulking figure blocking the light of the doorway. Just a man where his head is at the top crossbar of the door, and he followed the girl there. It's of course the stepfather. Watson is taken aback. Sherlock is acting just bored as could be, just lounging on his chair, just knowing exactly who this person is. He's coming in with fits of aggression and threatening Sherlock, and Sherlock is just like poking fun at him, going, "Oh, how's the weather?" and just asking these ridiculous, off-topic questions. And the big stepfather, with the big muscles, goes over and picks up a fireplace poker, one of those iron bars, and he bends it just to show his physical prowess and what would happen if Sherlock got in his way. And then he leaves. Says, "Stay out of it." And like Sherlock is saying, like, don't let the door hit you in the butt and stuff like that. And then it's one of those examples used of all of Sherlock's characteristics. It's not just that he has a brilliant mind, but it's also shown that he's incredibly strong and durable and agile and quick when he needs to be. And so he walks over to the fireplace poker that's been bent into the shape of a horseshoe, and he grabs it and he unbends it straight as could be, as if it was easy. So off they go. They're on their carriage ride or whatever. They arrive at the house. The girl is there, happy as could be. Says, "This is great. My stepfather has been out of town. It looks like he'll be gone all day." They respond that he made his way into the apartment, and so they know that he knows, and he's following the girl, and all those things. They inspect the house. It's a large, stately country house that has been run down, and different portions of the building have had different levels of renovations. There's scaffolding in one part, and a roof collapse on one part, and so it's in a state of disrepair. And they investigate the house, and they see all these very strange things. And Sherlock, in his way, in his teasing way, is pulling out clues, and also seeing what Watson is noticing, all those great things. And as you read it, there's just several strange details, qualities of these rooms that are clues, but as a reader and thinking, well, how does this stuff add up? And so, a few years before the murder in this house, there was a vent, a shaft put in between two rooms, adjoining two rooms. And Sherlock thought that was odd because the shaft, the ventilation would have been much better suited going directly out into the open air on one of the surrounding walls. But this was a little vent between two rooms, and not large enough, Watson points out, not large enough for a human body to fit through. And he says, even let alone a squirrel. And the mystery surrounding this murder is that the girl was in her bedroom that was locked from the inside and had iron bars and shutters on the window. And there was a coroner's report, and they couldn't find the cause of death. And so it's a person locked in a room by themselves that suddenly finds himself dead. And the agreement was that she died of literal terror. She frightened to death. And in her room, there's this little vent. There's also a bell pull that you would use to signal a maid. And Sherlock quickly notices it's a dummy bell pull, so it doesn't go anywhere. And he sees other things. The bed is posted, it's fastened and bolted to the floor, so it's not a bed that you can move around. So they regroup, and Sherlock says, yes, you are, to the girl, you are in danger. You have to listen to my every word, or else your life is in peril. And Sherlock says, me and Watson have to sleep in your bed tonight. And they go, what? So they create this scheme. She'll go to bed. She'll have a little light on her window. It'll signal Sherlock and Watson, who are across the field at this little inn. They'll see the light. As they're crossing, the baboons running around, the cheetahs running around, adding to the height and excitement and the adventureness of the story. And they make the switch, and they're even calming their breath. They're breathing. They're now just secretly in this room. If they were discovered, it would just be terrible. The door would come open, and there'd be a big brawl. Watson has his gun, and they're just sitting there in like complete silence. And Watson describes it as just as if they're in a vacuum, as if you could keep your pulse down. So quiet, and it's completely dark. The time is going by. Watson details that even though it's a pitch black room, he knows that Sherlock is sitting next to him, wide-eyed. So two people, their eyes open in complete darkness. And then they can sense that a lantern has come on in the other room, the adjoining room, connected by the vent. And then they hear the whistling. So Sherlock springs into action. He grabs his cane. He starts banging on the bell pull, creating a racket. And there's a shriek that rings out of this room. And it's later detailed that houses that were in the village woke up when they heard this shriek. This was one where the ending, it was adventurous. It felt like you were re- really reading a murder mystery where the detective work and figuring out the clues and following the story and being off balance. There's strange, fantastical things. And then when you get the list of clues that are very well detailed in front of you, and to think, well, okay, so how did this person die? It turns out she was bitten by a snake, and Sherlock was able to figure out that she was bitten in the corner. Wouldn't figure that out, and he's gonna bang on the bell pull. It's gonna frighten. The idea is that the stepfather each night is releasing a snake into the room to kill her, because he had part of like the Indian Trade Company or something. He was bringing back all these animals from India. That's how we got the baboon and the cheetah and the snake. And it also ends with Sherlock, or it was Watson. Let me see if I could find it, because it ends with, here we go. And also with the result of causing it to turn upon its master at the other side. Some of the blows of my cane came home and roused its snakish temper, so that it flew upon the first person it saw. This part. In this way, I am no doubt indirectly responsible for Dr. Grimsby's Roylott's death, and I cannot say that it is likely to weigh very heavily on my presence. So, indirectly, Sherlock murdered this guy. He goes, nah, he had it coming. So, great story. Let me know if you've read it. Please leave a comment if you would like. Thank you for watching, and take care.